Another week, another Dan K show, hockey fans. Dan K and Lucas Jones going to be taking you through everything that is USPHL. One skater who did take it personally and answered back with his Northern Cyclones in the premiere. Another little walk through the J rating, the newest system, the newest ranking system to reach junior and youth hockey. We'll talk through that as well. Proprietary system right there. And the NCDC is absolutely Teddy bonkers. Let's get into it. All right, time for Dan K's three things. And thing number one is when we make a power ranking and we put two teams in the top five, we expect it to be a battle royale. And oh boy, was it, between the Utah Outliers and the Ogden Mustangs. The Outliers, the 5 seed in the Dan K Show power rankings. Ogden, the 3. Well, guess what? Upset City, population outliers. They win 2 in a row over the weekend. And they'll get another chance at Ogden on Friday, November 12th. Could be a 3 straight victory swing in the Dan K Show power rankings. Thing number 2, we're getting excited. The Islanders Hockey Club Showcase is just a week and a half away. There is going to be a multitude of hockey action, and the Dan K Show will be on the call for over 10 broadcasts on hockey TV. Good luck to our voices, and good luck to all the teams in attendance. Thing number 3. There's this new thing sweeping the nation called the J rating. And, it's almost as big as the hats that Dan K wears now on each week's show. Shout out to the River Kings and Marty Quarters right here. But there is no slow flow of information coming from this J rating system. And now I go to the man whose name was bestowed upon the J rating, Mr. Lucas Jones. What's going on, Lucas?
Dan, what a weekend. I mean, you had not just upsets in college football, not just upsets in the NFL, but that upset aura has obviously carried over into the USPHL, because if you thought the NCDC was a toss-up maybe a couple of weeks ago when we talked about them, you're going to want to check those standings again, because it is absolutely insane what's happening in these divisions.
100%. And you look at it right now, you just can't put your grasp on it. We're going to get into it in the second segment. But you talk about, Lucas, every time we end the power rankings, we say, if you don't like what the rankings look like, we ask that you take it personally, right? The old Michael Jordan mantra, go out there and prove us wrong. Utah did that against Ogden. They were a 5, but they proved that they could play like a 3. And you look at the Northern Cyclones, Mr. Jacob Howell, and how good was this team? This was a team, I always talk about the 11 through 15 range when we're making a power ranking. This team was in that range, and they got the bump out of the top 10. They didn't get put in for the second month in a row. And what did they do? They not only go out there and they beat the number 4 seed in our power rankings, our 4th overall team, the South Shore Kings, who hadn't lost a game in their last 12. They beat them in a shootout. Then they go and they beat IHC. What a weekend for Northern.
Yeah, I mean, this is exactly what we want players to do, right? And I always love seeing that notification from Jacob pop up in our Instagram messages. Just it's always the best too, because exactly the way that we want players to approach us. It's, hey guys, checked out the power rankings and you better be watching this weekend, because that's exactly the mentality to have. When someone tells you, maybe says, maybe we don't think it's this month. You go out and you show them why. You put everything out there on the ice. The Northern Cyclones did that, and they did it in style, beating 2 teams that we were pretty high on this past month, Dan. And I think this division might be turning into into the most competitive division right now in the Premier, potentially.
Yeah, man. And you look at Jacob Howell, 7 goals, 3 assists for him. And let's not forget some of the guys on this squad. Jackson Tillinghast, man, who can score it fast. 15 assists on the year, 15 apples for this young man, 8 of them coming on the power play. He's got a shorthanded goal as well. That's what I always love to see it, Lucas. When you can see a guy who does it on the power play and does it shorthanded, it means he's playing both ends of that special teams, right? He's willing to kind of put it out there both ends. This is a year 2001 that is a must-see right now. Jordan Galtieri, Andrew Newsma, Hunter Meyer, Travis Marchand. I mean, this team doesn't quit. You even look at the depth in scoring. You talk about a guy like Michael Mulcairn, centerman with 7 assists, or Riley Ott, man, who could put it in the right spot any day with the puck on his stick. Jonathan Critelli, This team, Keenan Stevenson, man, this guy's worked up the ladder there. It's a former all-star with this Northern Cyclone side. And in net, Kyle Meyer. He's less than 2 in the goals against average world right now, and he's got a .929 saves percentage, 2 shutouts to his name.
It's a complete team. I mean, it really, really is. And then you mentioned, you look at who was in net for that game, right? It's Tripp Clark in net for the Northern Cyclones against IHC. 30 stops on 33 shots allowed. Northern's defense helping him out. And then when his back's up against it and he's got to make the stop, Tripp Clark is another guy that you can really rely on in big situations. And I think he fits really well in this Northern Cyclones team. This is absolutely when the chips are against him, when the broadcasters, when you and I are saying that they're not good enough, they go out there, they prove us wrong. And I think Tripp Clark did a fantastic job against an extremely potent IHC offense. And the Northern Cyclones offense even responded. You talk about 5 goals. At one point, they were up 4-1. They scored all 4 goals in the second period of play to go up 4-1 after IHC opened up scoring. So that's a team that responds well to adversity.
Yeah, and South Shore and Northern now, just 4 points between the two of them and 2 games in hand for Northern. So if they win those 2 extra games, this is a tie ball game right now at the top of that New England division. A lot of room to play, a lot of room to grow, and a lot of time left in front of us. Before we move on to the J rating, I just caught a glimpse of the Southeast, Luke, because I haven't prepped you for this at all. But you look at the Southeast, you want to talk about another close division. The Carolina Junior Hurricanes, 26 points in first place. 1 game less played by the Richmond Generals, who are just 2 points behind them. The Hampton Roads Whalers now, because they didn't play, they're 2 points back at Carolina, and the Rush 6 points back with 20. There is a 6-point differential between 1 through 4. And every team has got less games played as you go down that list.
Yeah, it's that division is always fun, right? It's always the interesting thing of who takes that weekend off, right? Who can make the most of a weekend. When you split in that division, you consider it almost a failure, right? Where sometimes you'd think a split weekend, you can, get away with it. In that division, it can't happen. And I think the IHC showcase is going to show us a lot about what those teams from the South Division can do. And also, Dan, if you take a look at who Northern's going up against that IHC showcase, Pittsburgh Vengeance, the Blue Ox, the Moose, and Pueblo. So that's going to be a really interesting showcase for a lot of these teams that are either on the bubble, like Northern, or a lot of these teams that are battling it out, like those guys in the Southeast Division. So I think next weekend, you have to tune in. You have to tune in to either on Hockey TV or on the USPHL Dan K Show social pages, because it's going to be wild.
I can guarantee you come out of that weekend with 3 victories out of 4 with that schedule in front of you, and you're the Northern Cyclones. You're not just looking at top 10. You're looking at some high numbers right there and a chance to really make a statement. That's what that IHC showcase is going to be all about. Lucas, we're excited for it. You can tune in on Hockey TV. You'll see us all weekend long. Mr. Matt Prier will be making an attendance as well. Jim McCabe, what a job he's doing behind the scenes to schedule this whole thing up, get it all rolling. The beautiful voice of Jim McCabe. He's a fun broadcaster, man. He's cut from the same jib as us here, where it's kind of the idea of, you make the jokes, you have the fun, you wager Texas with $. I know he had a gold call with one time. So we look at it. We're excited for the weekend. We're excited for that IHC showcase. Before that, we got to talk J rating. Let's go.
The Dan K Show would like to thank all of our fantastic sponsors for the work that they do. If you're interested in partnering with the Dan K Show, reach out to @the_Dan K Show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you too can work with the most watched show in junior hockey.
Welcome back, folks. We wanted to dive in a little bit to the J rating stuff. Now we started the system with the elite. Figured we'd give it a little testing ground, a little proving ground. Well, it's been working out. So we're now starting to expand the analysis of the J rating to the NCDC division first. And then as we backlog the Premier and all of the crazy games with 64 teams in that division, you put that all into the Excel sheet. Dan K on the data entry. His fingers must be exhausted right now. But it's
I'm not on the data entries yet. You're on the data entry. Don't give me that credit till I'm actually doing it.
Well, once you do, I can guarantee you your fingers will be hurting a little bit. But I promise you it's for a good cause, Dan, because the J rating this month was pretty interesting, I think. And after looking over the numbers, we take a look at it, and the top 4 matched up with what you and I thought in a slightly different order for sure. You can kind of see the numbers on the screen right now. You look at the top 15 squads according to the J rating, And, the top four, I think, matched up with what you and I have. That adjusted J rating, of course, taking into account some different variables from the raw ranking. There's a lot going on the back end, but as we've told you, we try to boil it down to the purest hockey statistics. And Dan, what stands out for you in this top 15?
Well, first of all, we start at the top four, and I call this my bet my life top four. Okay, so this is how, when we make a power rankings, we try to base it off of kind of number one. You want to try to pick the best team to be number one. That's what you need to do first. But then after that, as you kind of slot down, you want to both reward good months and a good roster and what it looks like, and you want to also kind of balance that with also what do I think is the actual number. And that's kind of where we had Wilkes-Barre 2, IHC 3, Richmond 4. But this is kind of my bet my life top four in this order here. If you made me right now tell you who do I think is going to win a championship, and you said, okay, you got to pick number one, I go to Rush. They go, okay, you can't pick the Rush. I'd probably pick Richmond next. And then if they said you can't pick Richmond, I'd probably go to IHC next and then Wilkes-Barre. Right? That would be my bet my life four on those ones in that order. And it doesn't lessen any of the blow for any of them. It's just more Wilkes-Barre is the newest of the four, so you never know with a newer team, newer roster. The guys have just come together this year. IHC has shown toughness in the past. Richmond has won a national championship recently, and most recently, the Rush won it last year. So you look at that, that's kind of how you get there. And the biggest surprises to me kind of fall into the 11, 12, 13 range here, Lucas, all the way down to 15. At 11 through 15, when you talk about the Rockets being all the way back at 15, that is new territory for Coach Wags and his elite squad. But when you're so good every single year, when you're in contention for a national championship every single year, eventually you need to see a dip. That's a big dip for them. And the J rating, not loving on the Florida division right now, Lucas.
No, and I think it can be sometimes difficult, right? Because you talk about these divisions that, don't see a lot of variability sometimes, these very regional divisions. We try to account for that the ways that we do, right? With the human element that we have, which we feel separates what we do from these pure analytic ranking systems, right? There is a bit of a human element that you and I dive into. We create that before we look at these numbers. We add them to the numbers. But I agree. I think the Florida division is currently going through it a little bit right now with the ranking system. I do expect that to change, though, as you get more data points, the system gets even better. The one thing I think is interesting here is some of the toss-ups. And because you look at 5 and 6, Wilkes-Barre and the Junior Canes, within 1/100th of a percentage point, you look at the Jersey Hitmen and Springfield Picks, again, 11/100ths of a percentage point. You go down to 12 and 13, same deal, right? So you've got these instances where you almost call them toss-ups. There's not a ton of difference between teams. And I think the one thing that's going to really help us out here, Dan, is when we get to IHC, right? When we get to these different showcases, when you get to the Florida showcase, you'll get those Southeast teams that come down. That's going to help things out. But I think this proves that there is something here and that this could become, I think, a ranking system that, might get used going forward.
Yeah. And right now the human element is you and I, right? And in this world, when this thing takes over the hockey world and it's the premier ranking system in hockey, which it will be, and when it is that, there's going to be a committee, right? And there's going to be a committee of dedicated folks, 5, 10, 15, whatever the number winds up being to be the correct number to find that fairness value, right? And that's going to create that strength, that human strength number, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what weights into this thing to really help keep from, so many times we hear about it all the time. We hear the horror stories of kind of some of these ranking systems and what blowouts can do in them, or what maybe not sending in some game totals could do if you make it look like your schedule is only against certain teams and you don't play all the teams you play, or, you can kind of fudge the numbers in a lot of these things. And a lot of it winds up just falling on how it starts at the beginning of the season, how they look at it, who they put at the top, and then it's really hard to drag them down. It was the problem with the BCS in college football was if I put Florida State, I'm using Florida State, not today, not in today's world, but back in the day of the BCS, you're talking Bobby Bowden's Florida State, or you're talking about Larry Coker and his University of Miami squads. If I start them in the season at number one, right? Even if their schedule is nowhere near the difficulty, like University of Miami at the time was in the Big East, right? Their biggest games were against Rutgers and Louisville or Virginia Tech back in the day. I'm really diving into it. But you look at that, and their strength of schedule would never match a lot of the opponents they play. But they couldn't be knocked out of number one because they wouldn't lose. And that's the hardest thing here, where we are eliminating that. There is no human element when it starts. It is all robotics. It is all mathematics. It is all the numbers that you've put out on the table. And then the human element comes in after the fact. It removes bias. It removes that inability to really drive numbers away from a team that maybe isn't playing up to snuff or up to the par you want them to. And it completely removes the robotic, the simulation, the numbers effort of it, removes the ability to have the bias, help the team out you want to help out. And that's the biggest thing we love about it. Lucas has done such an incredible job on the numbers. I mean, we even had George Kelly, the mathematician genius whiz of the USPHL, dive into this and tell us everywhere we were wrong, and you kind of look and you finally, you dig, you cut, you scrape through. And now we've got this opportunity, Lucas, to employ something I think is really going to help hockey.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's to kind of put a bow on it here, it was something where you and I looked at what we didn't like about other things, right? Other things that were on the market, and we tried to fix it, right? And that's kind of what you and I have been doing with the Dan K Show for 6-7 years now, and I think it's worked here as well. It's the one thing you hate to see in youth tournaments too, youth and junior tournaments, is you hate to see blowouts for no reason, right? You hate to see teams taking advantage of things, and that it's not good, right? It's not good for these tournaments to have that be a something that you can get an advantage based off of. So we've taken that out. Like I said, as much as you and I love advanced statistics, we tried to keep it a little simpler here. So I think it's working out well, and I'm excited to see where it goes. And who knows, maybe, it comes to a tournament near you, and all of a sudden when you see that little J rating sign next to your team name, blame us if you don't like it. But yeah, I think it's exciting. I think I'm really happy to see it morph into what it's morphed into.
You want to know more about the J rating, you can reach out, dankshow.com, contact us there. Big stuff coming up soon where you're going to have to really know how to get to dankshow.com and all of our social media pages and get your votes out there. But before that, we go to our final discussion here, Lucas, and it's the NCDC.
You are watching the Dan K Show. Everything USPHL, from the NCDC to the Premier and Elite Leagues. The Dan K Show with Dan K and Lucas Jones.
Well, now that we've talked about a whole bunch of math, let's talk about some simpler math here. Pure addition and subtraction in the points column. And Dan, the addition and subtraction is pretty tight in the North and the South division. And if you thought it was already a close race a few weeks ago, you're talking about some single-digit point spreads across multiple positions.
It's insane right now, Lucas. This weekend, the Boston Junior Bruins won, the Boston Junior Bruins lost. Philly and Connecticut split a series with one another. Jersey's out here starting to win games in bunches now. Watch out, they're getting a little more dangerous. Twin Cities beating South Shore. South Shore struggles to get a win this weekend after looking stellar at the most recent showcase. Like, it doesn't make any sense right now for me, Lucas. It's the thing about the NCDC this year. Every year there has been one world beater junior, and then kind of the chunk of the pack, and then a couple stragglers. This year, there are 0 stragglers, okay? No stragglers. Nobody's at the back of the pack. There is just a chunk. There is just talent spread throughout this thing. You can see it on the leading scorers pages. You can see it at the leading netminders pages. We've had netminders who have been unstoppable for a week at a time, and then they can't stop the puck because teams just are so good. You've seen teams that can't score for a week or two, and next thing you know, they're putting up 7-8 a game. It's so up and down right now. It's so upside down. You look at the North Division, Junior Bruins, Monarchs, Advantage. The Kings were in first place to start the weekend. They're in 4th now. Twin City jumps to 5th. Boston Advantage, man, Lucas, this is a team that they've had some lappers this year go against them. Some games where teams have kind of took it to them. And when they're on, though, there's so much talent. Coach Lovell does such a stellar job behind the bench with this squad on the ice. It's such an interesting division in the North. It's even more interesting in the South. I don't know who you call the best team right now in the NCDC.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is when you're in a situation getting close to this Thanksgiving holiday, where you've got the first place team overall and the last place team overall separated by only 12 points. And that Islanders Hockey Club team, there are a couple of games played behind too. So there's room there. It's not 12 pure points. You're looking at something where we just talked about in the Premier South, where a split weekend you consider a loss. Yep. A split weekend in the NCDC, that's actually really helpful. And as long as we're in this situation where you're talking about you're not even talking about weekends, you're talking about 10 game stretches. Can we be 2 games better over 10 games than the person ahead of us? Well, that might be the difference between playoff seeds, right? Can you be 3-4 games better over 20 games, right? These are the types of things that make this division a lot of fun. I love seeing split weekends in the NCDC. I'm really excited to see what comes up next.
It's going to be crazy. We'll have an IHC broadcast as well there, or not an IHC team broadcast, but from the IHC showcase, we'll have an NCDC broadcast there as well, Lucas. So we'll be talking some NCDC hockey. Look at your leading goal getters right now: Timothy Heineke, Tyler Christ, and the Baron Woodring. 12 goals apiece for them, Lucas. They are so good. The big number I'm looking at right now is in the assist total. Running away with it right now, centerman Spencer Corona of the Pal Junior Islanders. 23 assisters on the season right now. A sister right there, Lucas, for a 90s throwback.
Yeah, that is both an obscure 90s reference and an incredible feat. That's
not obscure. Tia and Tamara, that is not obscure.
That's obscure.
Tia and Tamara are not, everybody knows. And then what did it spin off to? What show did Sister spin off to?
I couldn't tell you.
Smart guy, the little smart kid.
You are reaching new levels of obscurity never before witnessed by the hockey community.
Became Smart Guy, and the weirdest thing about Smart Guy was he all of a sudden had a whole new family, but it was the same kid from the T and Tamara, and they literally gave him the same name, but all of a sudden he wasn't T and Tamara's brother. He was just in a whole new family. Made no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you should be looking for continuity from old Nickelodeon shows. But I've abandoned just the search for continuity in almost all of my television programming at this point. But if you want to talk about continuity in the NCDC realm, Dan, I think Spencer Corona might be that guy who's going to be continuously successful. He can keep putting up assist numbers like that, point totals like that. It's going to be a huge boon to the offense.
Yeah, and you look at it right now, power play goal leader, that's going to be Baron Woodring again. This is a guy who I thought, he was right on the cusp, kind of behind the scenes. We listen to the talks of players of the month. We hear them. We don't get the vote on it, but we get to hear it. And, Baron was my pick. He was great at that forward position and just got squeaked out by Mr. Heineke, who's stellar. I mean, what are you going to do there? That's incredible. And some of the other guys from this past month. But you look at it right now in this NCDC, it is anybody's ball game. It's so hard to pick somebody. You look at net, you got guys like Cam Smith right now with a 195 goals against and a 945 saves percentage, man. This guy stopped 427 pucks already, just 13 games in. Talking Brendan Williamson and Gino Pachora, both with an identical 267 goals against average with Rockets Hockey Club. Christopher Eberle from the Northern Cyclones, 4-4-1 on the year. He's got a 230 and 935 saves percentage. Peyton Grainer from the Jersey Hitmen, who's been insaner. It's going to be fun in the NCDC. Let us know your pick. Who do you think is going to win the North Division? Who's going to win the South Division? And overall, who's going to be that Founders Cup champ? Who's going to be the regular season champ? Right now, if the season ended today, it would be the Pal Junior Islanders. Will that continue? Or will those Hitmen keep charging back? We'll have to see. Dan K, Lucas Jones, we're off to the empty net to close out today's show. Welcome to the empty net. All right, USPHL fans, empty net, a little different this week because this week is Pro Week in the USPHL. We've been getting interviews. Cool one coming up with Drew O'Connor, former NCDC Boston Junior Bruin from the inaugural season of the NCDC, now playing with those Pittsburgh Penguins in the kid's hometown. And you look at a couple of stories, my favorites. You talk about two guys that went, Lucas, directly from the Premier into the bigs. And first in the KHL, it's Vladislav Shenchnikov And this guy played with the New York Aviators just last season and now skating in the KHL. Congratulations to Vlad. Just how cool of an accomplishment is that? The second biggest league on the planet.
Yeah, that's incredible, right? Especially when you talk about the direct jump, right? That is a huge accomplishment for that skater, for that Aviators program. It's just another example, right, of why people like the USPHL and the development model that exists almost anywhere in the country.
The bigger story, and I'm working on a write-up on this, and I want to make sure I give it the time and the effort, man, because this is one of the coolest stories I've ever seen. We've known this young man, Lucas, since he was about 16 years old, and we were just starting this whole thing up. And the battle that his career was at the junior hockey level, trying to stay healthy, being a physical player, doing everything the right way with the former Syracuse Stars, now Utica Junior Comets. Out of the Premier, Brennan Ash, okay, it's a forward who, he quotes this on his Fed League profile, led the league in penalty minutes when he was an 18U player, Lucas. That's his top stat in his Fed League profile, which you love. And this young guy, his career was over, okay? And it was cut short by injury already. He had battled through him. He just fought to stay on the ice as long as he could. Career comes to an end. He thinks hockey's done. This kid's getting in shape to go to the police academy. That's his next step. And what happens? He's working out in a rink, in a hometown rink in Watertown. And he asked a couple of the Fed team players from the Watertown Wolves, hey, think I could just kind of skate with you guys for a little bit? They said, sure. Little does he know, the coach is watching from his office. And Brennan's battling every day with these guys, putting in the work just to allow these guys to work out, to stay in shape. Next thing you know, he's dragged into the coach's office thinking, I'm getting in trouble for being too physical with these pro hockey players. No, he gets an opportunity, a pro contract, and makes his debut in the Fed. What does he do? What is this tough guy, this non-point getter? This is a guy who was that yeoman's work player, that lunch pail to work. What does he do in his first professional hockey league game, Lucas? Scores a goal. The story behind this, we're working on it right now. Incredible. Directly from the USPHL Premier. Yet again, just showing the talent level that is in this league. You talk about a guy who was, I mean, even he would say like an ancillary part to a really good Utica Junior Comets Premier team under Coach Ejikate last year and the years in the past. A guy who did all the little things, right? Like he always put in that extra effort. He always brought that lunch pail to work. He's a blue-collar player. And you can just trust him to do things. And even that guy in the Premier is a goal scorer at the professional ranks. Exciting story, incredible story. Congratulations to Brennan.
Yeah, it just goes to show you that when you put in the hard work, and he's certainly no stranger to hard work, right? He doesn't take it from anybody. He gets out there and makes a name for himself. And it's not just making a name for yourself and getting out there on the ice, which he does, as you've said, Dan, but to have the confidence to say, I need to stay in shape, so let me get out there and skate with a pro team, right? And then to have the confidence that when you're brought into that room, to say, yeah, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sign this contract and I'm going to get out there. That is building the person along with the player. And that's what's so important. And that's what's so great about, especially Ejikate, especially the USPHL, that Syracuse Utica team, is you're building the player, and what a player and person, Brennan has turned into.
Yeah, we're excited to see more, and we're excited to talk more. We have a ton more interviews coming up, Lucas. We're going to be talking about former USPHL guy, Mr. Jimmy Vesey. We're going to be talking about Jack Eichel in a bit. We've got some cool interviews coming up with that. A lot of stuff to come from the Dan K Show. With that, I go to you for your parting words this week, Mr. J Rating. My parting words will come from Gritty. Bye. That's what Gritty would sound like if he spoke. When Dan K is on the mic, it's always hockey night. Thank you to all of our wonderful partners that you see during those commercials throughout the episodes. Dan K Show, @_Dan K Show, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Guess what? You got to go follow us now, because starting Monday, the Holiday Follow Challenge is back. You can win a trip for free. Remember, it's for free if you do this. You got to we actually need to eat and live normally. So if you bring us to your rink normally, you pay us to come out. But in this case, all free. We come in, we cover you, we get you seen by scouts, by coaches, by everything. And all you got to do is just follow us. just follow us on social media. Just do it. And then you reach out and you say, Holiday Follow Challenge. Here's the team I want to vote for. We'll send out some graphics and everything to tell you how to vote on Monday. Big stuff. We also have our Holiday Follow Challenge jersey out now. It's that ugly Christmas sweater jersey. Go buy it. If you buy it, you get 3 extra votes. Buy it, you get 3 extra votes. If we get over 100 purchases in the first 2 weeks, I'll up that to 5 extra votes for everybody who bought one. I will blow it through the roof. Let's go. When Dan K's on the mic, it's always Hockey Night. Thanks for watching.
You know, if you're just going to raise the value, are we worried about vote inflation here? Is there
not
no?
If it helps the money's going to St. Jude, so I will inflate any vote I have to inflate to get money to a great cause.
At least one of us is worried about the vote economy, and one of us not so much.
You know what? What we'll do? We'll open up some other channels for voting. You know, there's a pretty big league we work with that right now you could probably follow and eventually get some extra votes on when we allow that after December 1st for those still watching the show.
Dan K's answer to too many votes, more votes.